Nothing in US law allows this. That's not my opinion. That's what multiple legal experts are now saying about a deadly US operation in the Caribbean, where two men who survived a first boat strike were later killed. So here's the simple, shocking question. Did the United States break its own rules for the use of deadly force? Stay with me until the end, because we're going to break down what reportedly happened, what US law actually says, why legal scholars are so alarmed, and what this means for America's credibility around the world. Hey everyone, welcome to Trendscope Global. I'm your host, and here we cut through the noise on world politics and global breaking news, so you actually understand what's going on. Today we're looking at a case that raises serious legal and moral questions. A US strike on a small boat in the Caribbean to survivors who were later killed, and experts saying very clearly that nothing in US law allows this kind of deadly force. Let's start with what we know. According to major US news outlets, US forces targeted a small boat in the Caribbean that was believed to be linked to hostile activity. The boat was hit. Several people died in that first strike, but two men survived, and here's where the controversy explodes later on. Not in the chaos of battle, but after the first attack. A new decision was reportedly made: track down those two surviving men and kill them. So this isn't just a split-second reaction in self-defense. This looks more like a follow-up operation, carried out after the main threat had already been neutralized. In simple terms, strike one, the boat is destroyed. People are killed. To survivors, they're no longer on the boat, no longer in the same immediate situation. Then a second decision: those survivors are deliberately targeted and killed. That second step is exactly what legal experts are zeroing in on. From new reporting, we're getting a rough picture of how that decision was made. After officials learned two men had survived, there were internal discussions. Do they still pose a threat? Can they be captured? Or should they be killed? At that point, this is no longer a "we had 1 second to react" scenario. There is time to plan, time to think, time to consider legal and political risk. Yet according to these reports, the final call was simple: use deadly force and eliminate the survivors. That's where many legal scholars say a bright red line may have been crossed, because once you're no longer under immediate attack, the law treats your choices very differently. So, what does US law actually say about deadly force? In plain English, deadly force is supposed to be used only when it is necessary, proportionate, and tied to an imminent threat. Necessary means there's no reasonably safe alternative, like capture. Proportionate means the force used matches the level of threat. Imminent threat means the danger is happening right now, or about to happen, not hours later after meetings and debates. On top of that, international humanitarian law and the rules of war say you cannot kill people who are out of the fight, for example, because they're wounded, captured, or trying to surrender. Legal experts looking at this case are asking some tough questions. Were those two survivors still an immediate threat at the time they were killed? Could they realistically have been captured? Or were they effectively out of the fight? If the answers lean toward no immediate threat and capture was possible, then the legal basis for killing them becomes extremely weak. To make this more relatable, imagine a police example. If someone is attacking an officer with a weapon in that moment, deadly force might be legally justified. But if hours later, when that person is injured, disarmed and trying to run away, the officer hunts them down and shoots them, almost everyone would recognize that as illegal. Many legal experts are saying, on a much larger scale, that second scenario is what this Caribbean case looks like. What do you think? If someone survives a strike and can be captured, do you think killing them is ever justified? Tell me in the comments. I want to know where you stand on this. Now, let's talk about the political fallout for US allies. This raises awkward questions. How can Washington lecture other countries on human rights and the rule of law if its own operations appear to ignore those standards? Will this make it harder to build future coalitions for military or counter-terrorism missions? For US adversaries, this is a propaganda gift. They can point to this case and say, The US breaks its own rules too, using it to attack American credibility on the global stage. And inside the US, the questions get even sharper. Who approved the second strike? Did lawyers sign off on it? Will Congress or independent investigators look into whether the law was broken? We've seen before in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other conflicts that controversial strikes can trigger formal investigations, apologies, or even changes in the rules of engagement. This Caribbean case could become another turning point in how the US uses force outside traditional war zones. If you're still watching, it probably means you care about accountability and the rule of law. Do me a favor, hit the like button so more people actually see this story. It's not getting the attention it deserves. So, what happens next? There are a few possibilities. There could be internal Pentagon reviews or congressional hearings that ask, very directly, whether this operation was legal and whether officers followed the rules of engagement. If serious problems are found, we might see tighter rules on targeting survivors, stronger requirements to choose capture over kill, and maybe more transparency about how these decisions are made. But that only happens if there is pressure from the media, from the public, and from people like you who refuse to just move on. Whenever you hear the words precision strike or successful operation, remember to ask, what happened to the survivors? Were there options other than killing? And is anyone independent checking whether the law was really followed? If you want us to keep tracking this story and others like it, not just headlines, but the deeper truth behind them, make sure you're subscribed to Trendscope Global. Turn on the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. To recap quickly, a US strike on a small boat in the Caribbean kills several people. 2 men survive. Later, a new decision is made to hunt down and kill those survivors. Legal experts now say nothing in US law clearly allows that kind of deadly force once the immediate threat has passed, and this one operation could affect US law, global trust, and future missions. Here's my final thought. The real test of a rules-based order isn't what leaders say in speeches. It's whether they follow their own rules when no one expects them to. Do you think this operation crossed a legal or moral line? And what should happen next? Investigation, apology, policy change, or nothing at all? Tell me in the comments. If you found this useful, like the video, subscribe to Trendscope Global for more deep dives into world politics, and share this with someone who cares about human rights and the rule of law. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.